Gunfire cracked through the darkness like thunder splitting the sky. Captain Emily Carter ran. Her boots slammed hard against the uneven ground as branches clawed at her uniform. Her breathing was sharp, uneven. Every inhale burned her lungs. Somewhere behind her, voices shouted in a language she didn't need to understand. They were close, too close. A bullet tore past her ear. Emily flinched, ducking instinctively as she dove behind a fallen tree. Dirt sprayed across her face. For a split second, everything went silent except the violent pounding of her heart. "This wasn't supposed to happen," she whispered under her breath, gripping her rifle tighter. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, at least that's what she told herself, but from adrenaline, from exhaustion, from the chaos that had swallowed everything whole. A bright flare shot into the sky, flooding the forest in harsh red light. They were surrounding her. Emily clenched her jaw. She forced herself to breathe slowly, to think. Panic got soldiers killed. Focus kept them alive. But deep down, one thought refused to leave her mind. We've been set up. 24 hours earlier. The briefing room was cold, silent, and tense. Emily stood at the front, arms crossed behind her back, eyes locked on the digital map glowing against the wall. The faint hum of equipment filled the air as her team sat around the table, waiting. "Listen up," the commanding officer said, his voice sharp and controlled. "This is a high-priority operation. Failure is not an option." The map zoomed in, dense forest, mountainous terrain, and a single marked compound deep inside enemy territory. "Our intel confirms a high-value target is being held here. This individual has critical information about a planned large-scale attack. You are to infiltrate, extract the target, and exfiltrate undetected." Emily's eyes narrowed slightly. Undetected. That word always sounded good in a briefing, but reality was rarely that simple. "What's the resistance level?" she asked calmly. The officer hesitated, just for a second, but Emily noticed. "Minimal," he replied. "Security is tight, but manageable." Emily exchanged a quick glance with her second-in-command, Sergeant Lewis. He raised an eyebrow slightly. He noticed it too. Incomplete intel. Again. But orders were orders. "Wheels up in 2 hours," the officer said. Dismissed. Outside, the night air was cool and still. Emily leaned against the side of the transport vehicle, checking her gear with practiced precision. Every movement was automatic, muscle memory built from years of training and experience. "You don't like it either, do you?" She didn't look up. "No." Sergeant Lewis stepped beside her, adjusting his vest. "Minimal resistance?" he scoffed quietly. "That's never a good sign." Emily allowed a faint, almost invisible smile. "Since when has anything been minimal?" He chuckled softly. "Fair point." For a moment, the tension eased. Nearby, the rest of the team joked quietly, trying to keep things light. Ramirez was telling a story no one fully believed, while Jackson pretended to be annoyed but was clearly listening. It was moments like these that mattered, because once the mission started, everything changed. Emily glanced at them, her team, not just soldiers, family, and she carried every one of their lives on her shoulders. "All right," she called out, "gear check in 5. The helicopter blades roared to life, slicing through the silence of the night. Inside, the team sat in formation, faces calm but focused. Red light bathed the cabin, casting long shadows across their gear. Emily sat near the open door, staring out into the darkness below. Her reflection faintly stared back at her in the glass. Strong, composed, but her eyes told a different story. She'd been on dozens of missions, seen things most people couldn't imagine, but something about this one felt wrong. She couldn't explain it, and she didn't like that. 5 minutes, the pilot shouted over the noise. The team immediately shifted. Final checks, weapons ready, minds locked in. Emily stood, hooking her line. "Listen up," she said, her voice steady and commanding. "We go in quiet, no mistakes. We stick to the plan." She paused, looking each of them in the eyes. "And we all come back." A few nods, a few determined looks. That was enough. The drop was clean. One by one, they descended into the darkness below, landing softly in the dense forest. No alarms, no gunfire, just silence. Too much silence. Emily signaled forward, and the team moved like shadows through the trees, every step calculated, every movement precise. The forest was thick, the air heavy. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Minutes passed, then more. Everything was going perfectly. Almost too perfectly. Emily raised her fist. Halt. The team froze instantly. She crouched low, scanning the area. Something felt off. She studied the ground carefully. Then she saw it. A thin wire, nearly invisible, stretched between two trees. Her heart skipped a beat. Trap, she whispered. Lewis moved closer. Wasn't on the intel. Emily's jaw tightened. Of course it wasn't. She carefully stepped over it, signaling the team to follow. One by one, they crossed safely. But now her instincts were screaming. They weren't alone. They were being watched. The enemy compound came into view. Dim lights, guard towers, movement along the perimeter. Emily studied it through her scope. This wasn't minimal security, not even close. "This is heavier than expected," Lewis murmured. Emily didn't respond immediately. Her eyes moved across the structure, analyzing, calculating. Then she said quietly, "We proceed." The team split in formation, moving toward their entry points. Everything was set. Everything was ready. Emily approached the outer perimeter, carefully stepping forward. Then, click. Her foot froze mid-step. Time stopped. Her eyes slowly dropped. Pressure plate. Too late. A faint beep echoed in the darkness. Then, suddenly, alarms screamed, floodlights exploded on. Gunfire erupted from every direction. "Contact!" someone shouted. Chaos. Pure chaos. Emily dove for cover as bullets ripped through the air. "They knew we were coming," Lewis yelled. Emily fired back, her mind racing. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't bad luck. This was planned. Her voice cut through the gunfire, sharp and commanding. "Fall back, we've been set up." And in that moment, everything began to fall apart. Gunfire roared from every direction, tearing through the night with ruthless precision. Captain Emily Carter hit the ground hard behind a concrete barrier, bullets sparking against the surface inches above her head. The silence of the forest was gone, replaced by chaos, shouting, and the deafening echo of war. "Contact left! Multiple hostiles!" Jackson's voice crackled through the comms. "I see them!" Ramirez fired in controlled bursts, his muzzle flashing bright against the darkness. Emily forced herself to breathe, steady and focused, even as her heart slammed against her chest. She leaned out, fired twice. 2 targets dropped instantly. But more kept coming. Too many. "They're everywhere," Lewis shouted, sliding beside her. "This isn't just a patrol. We walked into a full defense grid." Emily's jaw tightened. Her eyes scanned the battlefield rapidly. Enemy soldiers were already flanking them with frightening coordination. Towers were manned, spotlights tracked their every move. This wasn't a reaction. This was preparation. "They knew," she said under her breath. "What?" Lewis asked. Emily reloaded quickly. "They knew we were coming." Before he could respond, an explosion ripped through the right flank. The ground shook violently. Dirt and debris blasted into the air as a fireball consumed part of their position. "Ramirez!" Emily shouted. No response. Her chest tightened, but there was no time to process it. Another wave of enemies surged forward. "Fall back to secondary position," she ordered. The team moved, covering each other as they retreated under heavy fire. Every step was a fight. Every second felt like it could be their last. They reached a crumbling wall just outside the compound, barely holding their line. Jackson dropped beside her, breathing heavily. "We're losing them, Captain." Emily looked around quickly. Ramirez? Gone. 2 others? Missing. The team was already breaking apart. "No," she said firmly, "we're not done yet." "But the target is still inside," she cut him off, "and we're not leaving without him." Even as she said it, doubt crept in. Because this mission was no longer what it was supposed to be. "Comms are jammed," Lewis shouted, slamming his device. "I can't reach command." Emily froze for half a second. No communication, No backup, no way out. Her suspicion turned into something darker. "This was never an extraction mission," she said quietly. Lewis stared at her. "What are you saying?" Emily's eyes hardened. "They sent us in blind, into a trap." Before he could respond, gunfire erupted again, closer this time. "They're pushing in," Jackson yelled. Emily made a decision, a hard one. "Lewis, take Jackson and circle around the east side. Create a diversion." "What? That splits us." "We're already split," she snapped. Then softer, but firm, "We don't have a choice." Lewis hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Understood. They moved out. And just like that, Emily was left with only one other soldier, Private Cole. Young, nervous, but holding it together. "You stick with me," she told him. "Yes, ma'am." They pushed forward, slipping through shadows and broken structures, avoiding direct contact. The compound was alive now, sirens blaring, boots pounding, orders being shouted. Every corner was a risk, every sound could mean death. Emily motioned for Cole to stop. Ahead, 2 guards stood near a side entrance. She signaled silently, "On my mark." 3, 2, 1, 2 suppressed shots. Both guards dropped instantly. "Move," she whispered. They slipped inside. The interior was worse than she expected. Heavily armed soldiers rushed through the corridors. Security systems blinked red. Doors locked down automatically. This wasn't a simple compound. It was a fortress. Emily grabbed a nearby device off a fallen guard, scanning quickly. Then her expression changed. "What is it?" Cole asked. Emily's voice was low, tight. "This isn't just a holding site." She turned the screen toward him. "It's a command center." Cole's eyes widened. "That means they're running operations from here," she finished. And suddenly, everything made sense. This wasn't about extraction. They had walked into something much bigger. A loud crash echoed down the hallway. "Go," Emily ordered. They ran, but as they turned the corner, gunfire erupted again. Cole cried out, dropping to the ground. "Cole!" Emily slid beside him. Blood spread rapidly across his side. I'm hit," he gasped. Emily applied pressure, her hands steady despite everything. "Stay with me." "I can't." "Don't say that." Footsteps thundered closer. They were seconds away. Emily looked at him, then at the hallway ahead, then back at him again. The hardest decision of her life, right there. "I'll come back for you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Cole gave a weak nod. Emily stood, hesitated, then forced herself to move, because if she stayed, they both would die. She ran, every step heavier than the last, every breath filled with guilt. Gunfire echoed behind her, then faded. She didn't turn back. She couldn't. An explosion suddenly tore through the building. The force slammed into her, throwing her across the corridor. Everything went black. Silence. Slow, heavy silence. Emily's eyes fluttered open. Her ears rang violently, her vision blurred. She pushed herself up, groaning in pain. The corridor was destroyed. Fire burned along the walls. Smoke filled the air. She was alone. Completely alone. She checked her weapon, low ammo. Her comms, dead. Her team, gone. The mission, failed. Or worse, never real to begin with. She staggered forward, each step painful. Then, something caught her eye. A blinking light attached to her vest. Emily froze. Slowly, she reached down and pulled it off. A small device. Her blood ran cold. "A tracker," she whispered. Her hands tightened around it. Not placed by the enemy, no. This was military grade. Their tech. Her breathing slowed, dangerously calm now. They didn't just send us in blind. Her eyes hardened with realization. They sent us to be found. In the distance, voices echoed again. They were coming. And now, Emily Carter wasn't just a soldier on a mission. She was the last survivor of a setup, hunted, alone, and betrayed. She dropped the tracker and crushed it under her boot, then disappeared into the shadows. The forest swallowed her whole. Captain Emily Carter moved through the darkness like a ghost, silent, focused, and dangerously aware of every sound around her. The distant echoes of boots and shouting faded behind her, but she knew better than to believe she was safe. They wouldn't stop. Not now. Not after everything. Her side burned with pain where shrapnel had torn through her uniform, blood soaked into the fabric, warm and sticky. Every step was a reminder that she was slowing down, and slowing down meant dying. Emily pressed forward anyway, because stopping wasn't an option. A faint mechanical hum cut through the night air. Emily froze instantly. Her instincts sharpened. Her breathing slowed. There, above the trees, a drone. Its dim red light scanned the forest floor, sweeping left to right in a slow, methodical pattern. "They're sweeping the area," she whispered. Of course they were. She had triggered their entire defense network, taken down their men, entered their command center. They weren't just hunting a soldier anymore. They were hunting a threat. Emily dropped low, pressing herself against the damp earth beneath thick brush. She pulled mud over parts of her uniform, masking any reflection or contrast. The drone passed overhead, paused, hovered. For one terrifying second, it felt like time stopped. Then it moved on. Emily exhaled slowly, but her mind was racing. They had drones, patrols, advanced tracking, and somehow they always seemed one step ahead. She moved again, slower this time, smarter. Her training kicked in, not just survival, adaptation. If they hunt you like prey, become the predator. She began studying her surroundings more carefully, broken branches, footprints, sound patterns. And then she noticed it, a patrol route. 3 soldiers, moving in a predictable loop. Emily crouched behind a tree, watching, waiting, calculating. Her pain faded into the background. This was what she knew. This was what she was trained for. As the patrol passed her position, she moved. Fast, silent, precise. The first soldier never saw her coming. She pulled him back into the shadows, covering his mouth as she neutralized him instantly. The second turned. Too late. A quick strike, controlled, efficient. The third raised his weapon. Emily fired once. The shot echoed, but it didn't matter anymore. They were already looking for her. She grabbed the third soldier before he hit the ground. Alive, barely. Minutes later, the man was tied, breathing hard, fear in his eyes. Emily crouched in front of him, her expression cold and unreadable. "Listen carefully," she said quietly. "You're going to answer my questions." He shook his head weakly. Emily leaned closer, her voice dropping lower. "You already know how this ends. The only thing you control is how long it takes." The soldier hesitated, then broke. What he told her changed everything. "This mission," he stammered, "it wasn't random. We were waiting." Emily's eyes narrowed. Waiting for what? For you. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. They knew your unit, your tactics, your timing, everything. Emily felt something shift inside her. Not fear, not shock, something deeper. "You were given to them," she said slowly. The soldier nodded weakly. "By who?" He hesitated. Emily grabbed her collar, her voice sharp now. "Who?" "I don't know," he panicked. "We only get orders, but this was planned weeks ago." Emily let go. Her mind was already connecting the pieces. Incomplete intel, no comms, tracker on her gear, perfect ambush. This wasn't just a compromised mission. This was a setup from the inside. A gunshot rang out in the distance, then another. Emily's head snapped up. "They're getting closer," the soldier whispered. She stood slowly. For a moment, she just looked at him. Then she turned and walked away into the darkness. She didn't need anything else from him. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time had lost meaning. Emily kept moving, through trees, over hills, across shallow streams to break her trail. Her body screamed at her to stop. Her mind refused. Because now, this wasn't just about survival. It was about truth. A flicker of light appeared in the distance. Emily dropped low, crawling closer. Voices, enemy soldiers again. But this time, something was different. They weren't searching. They were guarding. She adjusted her position carefully, peering through the foliage. A small outpost, temporary but heavily secured. And in the center, a communication unit. Emily's eyes sharpened. That's it. If she could access it, she might find proof. She waited, watched patterns, counted movements. 10 minutes, 20. Then she moved, silent as the night itself. One guard, down. Second guard, neutralized before he could react. She slipped inside the outpost. Her hands moved quickly over the equipment. Screens flickered to life. Data scrolled. Encrypted files. Mission logs. She bypassed security with practiced efficiency. Then she found it. Her mission file. But it was marked differently. Not extraction. Not reconnaissance. Her breath slowed. She opened it, and her world shifted. Operation Shadow Fallout. Objective: controlled unit elimination. Emily stared at the screen. Her chest tightened, but her face remained still, cold, focused, reading every word, every detail, every lie. They weren't sent to complete a mission. They were sent to disappear. Footsteps outside, voices getting closer again. Emily quickly copied the data onto a portable drive, her hands steady despite everything inside her breaking apart. She wiped the system clean, then slipped back into the shadows. Gunfire erupted again as she was spotted. "There!" someone shouted. Emily ran. Bullets tore through the air around her. But this time, she wasn't running blindly. She had direction, purpose, truth. After what felt like forever, she reached a clearing. Her chest rose and fell rapidly as she scanned the area. Coordinates matched. This was it, the extraction point. She looked up, waiting, listening, hoping. Silence. No helicopter, no lights, no rescue. Nothing. Emily stood there alone, the truth settling in completely now. "They were never coming," she said quietly. Behind her, branches snapped, voices closing in again. Emily turned slowly, gripping her weapon. Her eyes no longer showed doubt or fear, only resolve. If they wanted her gone, they were going to have to earn it. The forest had gone quiet again. But this time, it wasn't peaceful. It was the kind of silence that came just before something ended, or something began. Captain Emily Carter stood alone in the clearing, her rifle steady in her hands, her breathing controlled despite the chaos closing in around her. The extraction point was empty. No helicopter, no backup, no rescue. Only the cold, undeniable truth. They were never coming, she whispered again, her voice calmer now, almost emotionless. Behind her, branches cracked under heavy boots. Voices, getting closer. Emily didn't move. Not yet. Because something inside her had shifted. The fear, the confusion, the desperate hope for survival, gone. Replaced by something far more dangerous. Clarity. She turned slowly, scanning the tree line. Shadows moved between the trunks. Red laser sights flickered briefly in the darkness. They had her surrounded. Again. But this time, she wasn't running. The first shots rang out. Emily moved instantly. She dove behind a rock as bullets tore through the space where she had been standing just seconds before. Controlled, focused, precise. She returned fire. 2 quick shots. 2 enemies dropped. "Spread out! Cut her off!" a voice shouted. They were confident. They thought she was weak, alone, broken. They were wrong. Emily shifted positions rapidly, never staying still for more than a second. She used the terrain, trees, rocks, shadows to her advantage. Every movement had purpose. Every shot counted. One by one, the hunters began to fall. Minutes later, the forest grew still again. Bodies lay scattered in the darkness. Smoke lingered in the air. Emily stood in the center of it all, her chest rising and falling slowly. Her ammo was nearly gone. Her body was exhausted, but she was still standing, and that meant something. She reached into her vest and pulled out the small drive, the evidence she had risked everything for. Operation Shadow Fallout. The words echoed in her mind like a curse. A mission designed not to succeed, but to erase. Her team, her friends, her family, all sacrificed. Her grip tightened. For a moment, anger surged through her, raw, uncontrollable. She wanted to burn it all down, expose every name, make them pay. But anger alone wouldn't win this. Not anymore. She needed to be smarter, careful, because whoever had done this was powerful. A distant rumble broke the silence. Emily froze, then slowly looked up. A helicopter. Her eyes narrowed. It approached cautiously, hovering just beyond the clearing. No markings, no signals. Not standard, not friendly. The side door slid open. A figure stood inside, silhouetted by the dim light behind him. "Captain Carter, you've caused quite a problem." Emily raised her weapon instantly. "Stay where you are," she shouted. The man didn't move. "You're not in a position to make demands," he replied. Emily's finger tightened slightly on the trigger. "Try me." A pause. Then, "You found the file, didn't you?" Silence. That was answer enough. Emily's voice dropped, cold and sharp. "You sent us there to die." The man tilted his head slightly. It was necessary. The words hit harder than any bullet. Emily's jaw clenched. Necessary? That operation contained risks beyond your understanding. Your team's sacrifice prevented something much worse. Emily took a step forward, rage barely contained. They were soldiers, not expendable assets. "They were both," he replied without hesitation. For a moment, Emily considered pulling the trigger, ending it right there. But something stopped her. Not fear, something else. The truth in her hand, the evidence. If she died here, everything would disappear with her. The man seemed to sense her hesitation. "There's still a way out of this, Captain," he said. "Come with us. Hand over the drive. This can all go away." Emily almost laughed, a quiet, bitter sound. "Go away?" she repeated. "Like my team?" No response. That told her everything she needed to know. The helicopter lowered slightly. An offer or a threat. Maybe both. Emily slowly lowered her weapon, but only slightly. Her eyes locked onto the man. "You made one mistake," she said. "Oh? You left me alive." Before he could react, Emily threw a flash grenade towards the helicopter. A blinding burst of light exploded in the air. Shouts erupted instantly. She turned and ran. Gunfire chased her through the forest again, but it was wild now, disorganized. They had lost control, and Emily had just taken it back. Hours later, the first light of dawn broke over the horizon. Emily emerged from the forest, exhausted, injured, but alive. A distant road stretched ahead, civilian territory, safety, for now. Days passed, then weeks. The world moved on. Official reports called the mission a failure, classified, buried, forgotten. Her team was honored, but the truth was never spoken, not publicly. Emily sat alone in a quiet cemetery. Rows of white headstones stretched across a green field, names carved into stone, stories reduced to silence. She stood in front of one in particular, Sergeant Lewis, her second, her friend. "I'm sorry," she said softly. The wind moved gently through the trees. No answer, but she didn't expect one. She reached into her jacket and pulled out the small drive, the evidence she had risked everything for. Operation Shadow Fallout. The words echoed in her mind like a curse, a mission designed not to succeed, but to erase. Her team, her friends, her family, all sacrificed. Her grip tightened. For a moment, anger surged through her, raw, uncontrollable. She wanted to burn it all down, expose every name, make them pay. But anger alone wouldn't win this. Not anymore. She needed to be smarter, careful, because whoever had done this was powerful. A distant rumble broke the silence. Emily froze, then slowly looked up. A helicopter. Her eyes narrowed. It approached cautiously, hovering just beyond the clearing. No markings, no signals. Not standard, not friendly. The side door slid open. A figure stood inside, silhouetted by the dim light behind him. "Captain Carter, you've caused quite a problem." Emily raised her weapon instantly. "Stay where you are," she shouted. The man didn't move. "You're not in a position to make demands," he replied. Emily's finger tightened slightly on the trigger. "Try me." A pause. Then, "You found the file, didn't you?" Silence. That was answer enough. Emily's voice dropped, cold and sharp. "You sent us there to die." The man tilted his head slightly. "It was necessary." The words hit harder than any bullet. Emily's jaw clenched. "Necessary?" That operation contained risks beyond your understanding. Your team's sacrifice prevented something much worse. Emily took a step forward, rage barely contained. They were soldiers, not expendable assets. "They were both," he replied without hesitation. For a moment, Emily considered pulling the trigger, ending it right there. But something stopped her. Not fear, something else. The truth in her hand, the evidence. If she died here, everything would disappear with her. The man seemed to sense her hesitation. "There's still a way out of this, Captain," he said. "Come with us. Hand over the drive. This can all go away." Emily almost laughed, a quiet, bitter sound. "Go away?" she repeated. "Like my team?" No response. That told her everything she needed to know. The helicopter lowered slightly. An offer or a threat. Maybe both. Emily slowly lowered her weapon, but only slightly. Her eyes locked onto the man. "You made one mistake," she said. "Oh?" "You left me alive." Before he could react, Emily threw a flash grenade towards the helicopter. A blinding burst of light exploded in the air. Shouts erupted instantly. She turned and ran. Gunfire chased her through the forest again, but it was wild now, disorganized. They had lost control, and